Hey there, friends. Many of you have been asking me about the Florence, Kentucky shooting that took place over the weekend, and I've been holding off on that because I'm kind of waiting for more information to come in, because this is not a cut and dry one. This one is not your standard issue shooting that you can just drop into one category and it fits perfectly. I'll tell you why in a second. First, guys, go check out my friends Attorneys on Retainer at attorneysonretainer.us. Don't trust an insurance company with your self-defense, guys. These guys are the ultimate self-defense program offered by a law firm. This is literally on the front page of their website. These guys are going to cover you whether you are charged or convicted of a criminal act, take a plea deal, use an illegal weapon or firearm, hope you're not. They provide coverage in all 50 states, have a 24/7 emergency line. 100% of your criminal and civil defense fees are covered through trial. If you go there now and sign up, you will get $50 off your one-time sign-up fee. That's $50 off the $100 sign-up fee. Go there now, use my code FTATF. Again, that's attorneysonretainer.us. According to reports, 4 people were killed and 3 were injured after a mass shooting took place at a 21st birthday party in Florence, Kentucky. According to police, when officers arrived, they still heard shots being fired and they approached the residence. When they got to the residence, they saw multiple victims, and once they got into the residence, the partygoers told them that the suspect had fled and gave a vehicle description, which is kind of weird because it says when the officers arrived, they heard shots being fired, but then it says when they got to the residence. So where did they arrive where they heard the gunshots? I'm not really sure about that one. Maybe it was down the road or something, but that seems a little bit misleading right here. Following a chase, the shooter eventually shot himself, after which his vehicle crashed. After being taken to the hospital, Garvey died from his injuries. Reports state that the shooter was known to the partygoers, but believes that he was not invited to the party. Now, this report doesn't tell you a whole lot, mainly because it's from People magazine, and it's a very left-leaning magazine. They don't really want you to know how this shooting actually took place, because as long as it scares you happening in a neighborhood, that's the main concern right now. Be scared, be scared, be scared. We don't want you deciding what really happened here to determine whether or not you weren't really at any danger. Let me just say before we get started, you guys who are familiar with my motive classification method, that I classify this one as a confrontational shooting. Now, you might be looking at it as a rampage shooting or even domestic, because it kind of straddles across all three in some aspects. Now, let me first say this. Not every shooting is going to fit perfectly in the box that I outlined. However, the main goal, and I want you to be thinking about this as we talk more about this particular shooting, the main goal in my classification is exactly what's in the title, the motive classification method. What took place to make this happen? What's the root cause of this shooting? What was the spark? What set it off? You follow what I'm saying? So that is where we look, because if we can mitigate those sparks, then hopefully we can stop some of these shootings, right? Is that the right way of thinking? If we stop what ignited the entire thing, then all those things that happened after that really aren't important, because it would have never sparked had that spark not been present. So that's why I've classified this one as a confrontational shooting. Not a mass shooting like the media is going to call it, or already have called this, not a rampage shooting, and not a domestic shooting, but it has aspects of all three. Let me explain a little bit more about this shooter and some of the other details that this story didn't talk about. Is that, first of all, the shooter was a felon. When he was 18 years old, a couple of years ago, he raped a 13-year-old in a parked car. He had met the 13-year-old on Instagram. When they met up in the car, the 13-year-old told the then 18-year-old that she did not want to have sex. He decided he wanted to anyway, and he raped the 13-year-old. He was on parole, and he did donuts with another 13-year-old, this time it was a boy, in a parking lot while he was on parole. He violated the parole by doing this and still was not jailed. Here we go again with the justice system failing us. Now, they're talking about this guy came to this party as an uninvited guest. Well, his ex-girlfriend was there. I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just saying that's likely why he went there. And oddly enough, there was a party the night before at the same house. Apparently they celebrated the 21st birthday twice, or there was another party. But regardless, there was a party the very night before, and this same suspect showed up again, they claim, uninvited to this party. So 2 nights in a row they had parties at the same address. The first night, nothing happened. The same suspect killer showed up, did not do anything, left peacefully, comes back the second night of the party. Now, the claim also is, and this is all from eyewitness reports and things like that, you can find all this online, is that there were pictures and I don't know what you would call it, but happenings of the party the second night on social media, and that the killer saw that. Again, having been uninvited the first night, uninvited the second night, I guess he was mad. His ex-girlfriend was there, likely saw her, likely with another guy, in these same pictures that were posted online on social media, and then he went. And you notice the time that the shooting took place, well after midnight into the early morning hours. We talk about that all the time. Bad things happen after midnight, right? So here again, this guy is probably stewing over all of this and then shows up over there the second night to the party the second time he's uninvited. This time, he intends to do harm. So let's look at the 3 types of shootings that this could fall under, and again, they have aspects of all 3 in this same shooting, and I'll explain why I feel like the confrontational shooting is that spark. First of all, Rampage attack. This is what the media is trying to label this as. They want you to think that this was a random attack, in some ways random, that you could be at risk of this at any given moment, regardless of what you do. And there are things that could have been done to keep this from happening. We'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, the first bullet, random. Victims are mostly unknown. That is definitely not the case. This guy knew likely everybody there, and more specifically, the ex-girlfriend. So the first bullet does not apply here. Not even close. The second bullet, everyone present is a target and in danger. No one is safe. My guess is that may have a little bit to do with this, that this person may have wanted to shoot other people, but it's very obvious that if this guy was uninvited to this, nobody liked him, he probably was out to shoot not just the ex-girlfriend, but likely more of the people there, because no one invited him, which means probably no one liked him, which means probably he had a beef with every single person there. And the parent that got shot was shot because she was trying to save her daughter, who was also shot. So that's probably why he shot the parent. Again, intervention. She was trying to intervene with the shooting. She got in the way. He shot her. Fourth bullet, not spontaneous. The attack is planned in advance. You could say that applies here because, again, he obviously came here intending to shoot people. But again, that's not the spark. He was already there, right? Attacker expects to die during the attack by others or by their own hand. I will tell you this. My opinion is that I don't know that this person expected to die by their own hand, because usually when these types of people have these types of shootings, they shoot themselves at the scene. In other words, they have no intention of running. This person was being tracked by law enforcement and shot himself at that point. So the fact that he didn't do it at the crime scene, to me, does not make this bullet point stick to it. I believe this guy was just a coward. Usually happens during busy time of day. Of course, that's not what took place here. Usually attacks in a gun-free zone. Yeah, that doesn't apply here either. Comes from broken home. We don't know that yet because the details are sketchy. The same goes for the next one, psychotropic drugs. We don't know about that. Mental state, unstable, usually already being treated. That's possible. He raped somebody. I would imagine that doesn't seem like a normal mental classification to me, to rape somebody 5 years younger than you when you're 18 years of age. Suffers from antisocial personality disorder. I think that's pretty much a given. So yeah, that one would apply too. So you see a lot of the areas, even though I consider this a confrontational shooting, that the Rampage attack would apply also. Again, this is not a perfect science, but my goal is that if you were looking, just like it's called the motive classification, the motive is not in here. None of these apply to what sparked this. Domestic attack, well, we know some of the similarities here. Not random, the victims are known. The attacker rarely attacks those outside the family circle. Well, again, those people were likely intervening there, and the bystanders were at risk just because they were in the room and likely either trying to stop him or they were targets as well because, again, they didn't like each other. Confrontation, right? Attacker usually takes his own life. Yeah, that's still, I don't put this as a domestic attack. The attacker usually takes their own life in a domestic attack at the crime scene, just like some of the Rampage killers do. I do not believe that's indicative here. I will repeat, I think this guy was just a coward. When local law enforcement kind of corralled him and had him pretty much cornered, then he took his own life like a coward would. Time of attack not specific. Yep, I think that would apply here. Mostly occur in the home. It occurred in the other person's home where he knew it was. So again, a little bit of a carryover there, many different personality disorders. So we don't know enough about this guy's mental state. Let's go where I think this is. Again, the domestic attack I do not think was the spark, even though there is some carryover into this category. Confrontational attack, sparked by a fight, disagreement, grievance, or retaliation. That's the main one. That's literally the main one. That first bullet is the number one reason why I consider this a confrontational attack, because it was sparked by a fight, disagreement, grievance, or retaliation. All of those likely apply at this point, and had there not been a fight, disagreement, grievance, or retaliation, this would not have taken place. It simply would not have. If there wasn't an issue between this shooter and his ex-girlfriend or any of the other people at this party, this definitely, without question, would not have taken place at all. The second bullet kind of applies, but again, these are all kind of sub-bullets at this point. The attacker knows the person or group they attack, even if they just met. Bystanders usually only at risk of stray bullets. Again, that's not the case in this case, because I do believe the quote bystanders who were shot were intentionally shot by this person because of the conflict and confrontation he had with those people. Typically occur at late night, early morning hours. I'm not sure if that really applies here. I know we say stupid things happen at stupid times, at stupid places, with stupid people doing stupid things, but I don't think that would have mattered. I think if this party were taking place at 6 p.m., this likely still would have happened. Again, this is just kind of something that is a common occurrence in confrontational attacks, but I don't think that it applied to this one, even though, according to technicalities, typically occur late at night, early morning hours. That does apply here. I don't think, and I'm just being fair here, I don't think that was a point. That was chosen for this to happen at this time. Location not planned unless retaliation. Again, the retaliation part would be that they have a fight, disagreement, grievance, or retaliation, and this is where it's taking place. So that's why it was planned at this place, because this is where everything was going down, that he intended to stop and take those people's lives. Now, we don't know much about the suspect, so as far as fatherless home, we can't really speak on that right now. I don't know enough about that, and I have searched pretty hard, and I can't find a whole lot. There's really not a lot of information on this. Suspects are rarely apprehended. Well, obviously, this one was based on the circumstance. May experience narcissistic personality disorder. I would believe that, too. I do think that would apply. This is mostly ego-driven. Again, we're talking about an ex-girlfriend that was likely the primary target, and his ego is probably hurt because she stopped seeing him, which why was she seeing him anyway? He raped somebody that was 13 years old. But nevertheless, this person here was likely mad because probably with a new guy at this party. That's more than likely what sparked this entire thing. My reason for this, very clear. I think that it's important. Again, if we ever intend on lessening these types of occurrences, we have to look at what sparked them. We're being stupid and overly lazy if we want to say, oh, guns are a problem. You saw these law enforcement officers come out during their press conference saying, oh, we've had our first mass shooting. We've never had a mass shooting before. Really? If that's how you approach that and you start talking about gun laws and gun control, you literally cannot fix this. I guarantee you there's got to be at least one detective that works for the same police department that said these stupid things that's thinking, this didn't pop off because of a firearm. This guy was going to shoot his ex-girlfriend. His ego was overwhelmed and he couldn't take that. Somebody knows what made this pop off that's in this organization, just like I do. But the top brass at the law enforcement office, naturally, because it gets national attention, the White House actually contacted this department also. Oh, look, you had a mass shooting. So they have every incentive to call this a mass shooting to get everybody else to look at them. Look at me. We had a mass shooting. Yay. We're just another statistic in the United States. You actually have more in common with the people in Washington, D.C., downtown Detroit, Chicago, New Orleans, than you do with people across this country. Because what took place in your area happens, these types of confrontational shootings happen every single day, every single night and early morning hour. So this was definitely not what I would consider a mass shooting. Now, obviously, Gun Violence Archive is going to call this a mass shooting because all they're doing is counting numbers. They don't care what happened, why it happened, who it happened to. None of that matters to them. All they care about, if they're standing outside a house and there's shooting going on, the Gun Violence Archive has their clipboard, right? Bang, they hear a shot go off. Ooh, 1. Bang, 2. Come on. Bang, 3. That's 3 shot. Doesn't matter if they're killed. Doesn't matter if they got shot in the pinky toe. 3 have been shot. Gun Violence Archive is sitting outside going, come on. Come on. Come on, number 4. And then bang, number 4. Pow-pow! Mass shooting. We got another one, baby. Let's get paid. That's how they classify them. They don't care the background, the race, the gender, the supposed gender, the time of day, where it took place. They don't care if drugs were involved, alcohol was involved, girls were involved. They don't care the reasoning behind it. They don't care if it was 5 gang members all shooting at each other. None of that matters. They meet a certain number and they get to notch that on their belt. That's all they care about. That's irresponsible, although it's pretty smart if you're trying to make money. It's irresponsible because you're proving to me that you have no intention of trying to mitigate these types of shootings. You have no intention of lessening these numbers because why? You have no incentive to. Why would you want these numbers to go down? Less people would go to your website. The CNNs won't cite you as much. And if you correct your numbers, the CNNs won't cite you as much. So from a business standpoint, you can't afford to be smart like me. You can't afford to be honest like me because you will lose money. I don't make money off of this. You know what guides me on this? Right here. Morality. I have morals. I don't like seeing 4-year-olds get shot. I don't like seeing ex-girlfriends get shot. I don't like seeing mothers trying to protect their daughters getting shot. My goal is that people are safer in this country, protect themselves in this country, and we root out the evil in this country and stop these senseless, stupid shootings that all of these lazy people keep piling into the same category. I find that only those of us in the Second Amendment community truly care about other people because nobody else is attempting to stop any of these shootings or shed any light on any of these shootings. I guarantee you, if you could get just one of these gun control groups to look at my classifications, they want to bury them because my classification makes them look at themselves and the people in their own communities who vote side by side with them and allow these things to happen. Just like we talked about yesterday, Chicago mayor. That Chicago mayor doesn't want to go. He knows that the shootings that took place when somebody walks into this room and shoots a mom and a 4-year-old child, he knows that's not some rampage shooting where somebody's trying to indiscriminately kill people. He knows that. Those people were targeted or a dope deal popped off and went sideways. He knows that, but he can't say that because all he cares about is getting reelected. He doesn't care about the 4-year-old that took a bullet to the head. He cares about that 4-year-old growing up and voting for him. That's all he cares about. So he's got one less voter now. But it doesn't matter. As long as he doesn't piss any of the other ones off, he's going to have some that'll get groomed and grow up and maybe possibly vote for him. If he really were trying to stop these types of shootings, just like this shooting here in Kentucky, these people would get immediate backlash from those who get their feelings hurt. Oh, that hurt my feelings. Oh, what do you mean parenting? That can't be parenting. I'm the parent and I do a great job. I'm a single mom and I do everything I can. I do the best that I can. Oh, so now it's an attack on women, right? You can't single out anybody and put the true fault on them these days anymore without somebody's feelings getting hurt because of their shortcomings. Do you see what I'm saying? The reaction these days is not to accept responsibility and say, gosh, that was my bad. You're right. I could have done better here. The immediate reaction is to deflect any of that real blame because it hurts your feelings that somebody called you out truthfully. So even when somebody's accurate and truthful and they call these people out that are doing a piss poor job of raising these young people, it doesn't matter because they get indignant all of a sudden and then they make you feel like they're the victim instead of the person that they did not care about and care to grow up and mentor and nurture into a decent human being. That was the true victim. I know they're usually the ones who pulled the trigger, but they're the ones who are the recipient of very bad parenting. But these parents get indignant like, oh, there's nothing I could do. Oh, there's guns in the community. I couldn't do anything. If y'all would pass stricter gun laws, my baby would still be alive today. These parents are doing a horrible job of raising their children and nobody's holding them to account. That's why my motive classification method is painful for some people to look at because it points a finger at the people who are allowing this to cultivate and nurturing this system out there that's producing these horrible people that care very little about human life and others.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's so horrible.